Longtime college football coach Phil Bennett. There he is in that beautiful backyard, chilling, and where he resides and enjoys. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. Coach Phil Bennett joins us, 365 Sports. So, let's get to certain parts of the semifinals, and we'll get to Notre Dame and obviously Ohio State. Did you think Texas was going to score on that last drive and maybe go for two? And what about the pitch left at the 1 yard line?
I felt, Smokey, that if they would have scored, they would have won the game. Now, I'm not sure they would have gone for two. I just feel like Sark had created a passing aspect. You know, he was throwing the ball to the perimeters, and they couldn't block Ohio State up front in drop back, which became evident early with Ewers giving those sacks up. I think that it's easy to be critical on the flip. I think he went to his power on the 1st and goal. You know, they had 2 1st and goals with the 2 interferences and could have been a 3rd interference. But, it's one of those hindsight things. If it would have worked, I can remember every Aggie in the world when they played Texas, just killing Colin Klein. Why is he trying to run in the middle? Everybody runs in the middle. Why didn't he go to the outside? Well, look what happened. And so I think there was a reason why Sark went there. It just didn't work. To me, the play of the game, the whole game, was the play before halftime. I've never been – I think Pete Kowalski does a great job. I thought what he did with Smith in doubling the coverage, keeping a safety on top was outstanding. But I will not and never would play prevent defense. They went to a 3-high, soft, cover 3 roll, and it was a great call by Chip Kelly. I mean, that 75-yarder absolutely broke the whole game down.
Phil, now that Quinn Ewers' career at Texas is over, and he's hasn't made an official announcement, but he's going to the NFL. I think that's where it's headed. How do you assess the overall? I mean, 2 semifinals in a row. He won a ton of games, but he wasn't quite everything they wanted him to be. Is he maybe kind of a different version of Chris Sims to at least Texas fans?
Thinking of sending someone a boring gift basket? Don't. I know, gifting is hard, but don't give basic. Gift Boardery. Fully arranged gourmet charcuterie boards. Perfect for any occasion. Birthdays, engagements, thank you gifts. Boardery has you covered. Plus, if you forget to get a gift, Boardery ships overnight nationwide. So no more excuses, Cheryl. Don't gift basic. Gift Boardery.
No, he's a better player than Chris Sims. I mean, Chris Sims could have never led them to a championship. Amen. Chris Sims was not a championship level quarterback by any imagination. That's why Major Applewhite came in there and almost won it, the conference championship for him. If you watched the game last night and you watched the quarterback at Minnesota, I played against him when he was at USC and I was at Arizona State. There's always those quarterbacks that really do some good things when they have the full protection. And then there's some of them that are, a friend of mine calls them a sack waiting to happen. And I sort of put Ewens in that group. I mean, he had zero escapability. And there's also you've seen guys that are not great runners, but they have a feel for stepping up in the pocket, those things. I never felt Quinn was a factor at that. Now, when they dominated the line of scrimmage and the route he had time, he was lethal. But he just didn't – he could not he had no escapability and sort of fell into too many sacks.
Coach, that's 2 years in a row, as now has been well documented over the past couple of days, that Texas has basically been like a yard away from getting to the national championship, falling in the semis to Washington and now to Ohio State. They are clearly chipping away there, and I guess general conclusion would be, hey, if you keep chipping away, eventually like that tree's going to fall or that door's going to bust open. But you never know. Like this, they're going to lose like 15 guys in the NFL draft, and you can't just replace that. So from your standpoint, just kind of how do you view UT's spot now, dropping that game, the program, and not like they're going to slide or anything, but just getting that close. What's that like, and how does Sark and company kind of review that and then move on from that and try to get past that?
Craig, the first thing I will say about Sark, he's done a magnificent job at Texas. He's given them an identity. They have recruited well. They've evaluated well. They've coached well. I think anybody that looked at the last 3 or 4 years and didn't see from where he started that first year and what he's done couldn't say he hasn't done an outstanding job. Now, you mentioned how often can you get back? Texas is one of those places that you don't have to rebuild. You can reload. And everybody's not like that. I always thought with us at Baylor that we did a great job of losing Robert Griffin, getting Nick Florence in, losing Nick, getting Petty in, losing Petty, and on and on. But there comes a time when it plays out on you. I think he's kept his staff together, which is crucial. This is a new game. This portal and what you can put in it, how much money you put in it, it's different than anybody's ever seen. So this is going to be interesting, their choices of who they take. The number one question is Arch Manning going to be the guy they think he is? Or some people think he is. Can he be that guy? We know he can move. I think it was during the Mississippi State game, he ran over 22 miles per hour. But it's going to be interesting to see if he will be the guy. I think they'll continue to get good defensive players. I think they'll coach them well. And I think they'll still be a force in the SEC.
Ohio State, Texas, we discussed how that game ended. You mentioned the screen pass right before the half. Notre Dame, solid as a rock. I wondered, here they are. Who they've beaten. They have the one loss, and that was a weird loss to Northern Illinois. Marcus Freeman seems to be about as balanced a person as you could ever have as a coach or person. Tell me about what you've seen him do in 3 years at a place that's also you need to win, no matter Notre Dame has been a little bit average the last few years.
Smokey, the job has not intimidated him. They started off. He had a plan. It was obvious. I still remember, and I don't know why I was watching. But I remember the players' reaction when they named him head coach. I mean, these kids they were crazy about him. And it's obvious they haven't changed. He made a couple of, he made a couple of coaching changes and getting the LSU coordinator, I thought was big. They went out and not Notre Dame can't take that many transfers. Well, he gets Riley Leonard, of all places, from Duke. I think he's made a bunch of really good calls. Having his defensive coordinator is a guy that's coached a lot of football, been a head coach. I think he's got a group of people around him that he's very comfortable with. And I think his being around, I happened to see him on a podcast. I don't know if y'all saw him, but he was with Coach Tressel, and he was sort of talking about his journey and just how he integrates his family into the coaching aspect. He doesn't view it as a hindrance. He views it as a blessing, which I like. I mean, that's what I always did. I wanted my wife, my kids, I wanted I remember when I was at K-State, Bill Snyder had a desk in his office for my daughter. All the players knew my kids. And I think that's something they get to see a different side of you. And I think he said when he was at Ohio State, that's what he liked about coaching. So I think he's really an impressive guy. I think he's dictating his own journey. I think he's proved to Brian Kelly that Notre Dame is a championship program. Now, the question is, they're really beat up on offense, especially offensive line. And I know when they're looking at those defensive line tapes of Ohio State, they're sitting there thinking, what in the hell am I going to call on this? What can I do? So it's going to be a challenge for them.
If you were Notre Dame, how much would you try to mirror the Michigan game plan, or is this an Ohio State offense that's running it differently now?
I think Michigan's game plan was, and I really believe this, was defensively. Wink Martindale did a good job with the pressure, and he got the quarterback off balance. What you better do, I really believe right now the way they're playing, you've got to score. And I thought Sark, as the game went on, he started seeing the nows, throwing the nows, the quick game, and giving his receivers their DBs are good, but they miss a couple of tackles. You get down there. I thought he took the rush out of it, and lo and behold, on the fourth down play, drop back, sack, fumble, 80-yard touchdown. So that's sort of my take on it. I think that I'm not sure I would mirror Michigan, because Michigan has a history of being a physical, run-first offensive line, and then defensively they played well. One of the things I think where Notre Dame can match up is I think they can match up defensively. They're good, and they're physical. They can cover. They play zone. They play man. They pressure. I really think that they're a defense that's very capable, every bit as good as Ohio State.
Coach, a different topic here, but wanted to get your thoughts. Baylor, we talked to you last week, told you Kevin Curtis, they were moving on, making a change at cornerbacks. They've hired Paul Gonzalez from TCU. Wasn't sure, but have you had any brushes with him and any thoughts on that hire in particular?
Yeah, I've known Paul since he was a young coach. That's a Gary Patterson push. Mm-hmm. Gary pushed that through. I know Gary thought Paul was a really good coach. And I think Paul was at a lower level at the time. Where did he come from?
UC Davis, wasn't it, Craig?
UC Davis, yeah. Originally.
He had, and I think Gary had molded him. Had a lot of confidence in him. And I say this again. I mean, Curtis was a good coach too. You get caught into it. One of the things that's going to be interesting to me. I talk to a lot of coaches. A lot of people call me. They ask me things. Is what's Aranda going to do defensively? Matt's really not the coordinator. Is he going to try to stay in charge of it? And he was calling those defenses in the bowl game. So what's going to be the input of these new guys?
Yeah, because at some point you wonder if Dave has to at least give his assistant staff much more and he needs to still be a little bit of the CEO. Or is that just because he had to save his job?
I think he had to save his job was the big thing about last year. Now I kind of feel like you almost have to keep it going for at least the foreseeable future, maybe another year. But, yeah, I would imagine you don't want to be doing that for another 2-3 years at all if you're Dave Aranda. That's just so much on your plate.
Yep.
I don't think Dave wants to be the defensive coordinator, but I look at the people, he's hiring the D-line coach from Western Kentucky to be the outside linebacker coach. A little bit of a strange fit. And then he's hauling, Paul was a corners coach. And they're not going to be involved in that much strategy. It's going to be interesting, like I said, Matt he's already taken the controls over him one time, so it's going to be interesting. He's going to have to make a decision. Hey, I'm going to be all in, or I'm going to give it back to Matt.
What do you think about what's Deion Sanders possibly leaving Colorado to the Cowboys? Would you go work for Jerry right now if you're Deion?
No. Deion knows that. Mm-hmm. I think that conversation, I think that was a setup. I just know it was. I mean, I know this. Jerry Jones thinks the world of Deion Sanders. I think he called him and said, "Hey, I'm going to help you get a raise."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be able to hire you because there's some people I've got to hire. You know, I'm in this bind right now. I've been on a bad roll, but I want you to know I thought about you, and I'm going to help you with this, and we're going to play this out. And you go with your AD, and and get you 4 or 5 more million. You went 9-4, and then Jerry is going to him and his Steven and Will McClay. They'll go out there and beat the bushes till somebody say, "Hey, we'll do exactly what you want done. Just hire me." Somebody asked me, they said, "Nobody will take that job." I said, "They'll line up by the thousands."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No matter it's only one of 32 jobs anywhere, and it's the number one job anywhere, no matter if it's still, like Troy Aikman last night insinuating that no, it's no longer a destination spot for some people because of how long it's been and some of the things you have to go through. But it's the Cowboys' job. He can get pretty much who he wants.
If you remember back, we all do, when he hired Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells dictated everybody he hired on his staff. Everybody. I mean, and it was and I heard people in the room that he would absolutely tell Jerry, "That's BS. We're not doing that." Almost Jimmy Johnson like. And he said it was a hard time for Jerry to go back to that. And there they were, I don't know what year it was, but that was playing because I followed them. I was at SMU. They were in Seattle, going to win the game, and Romo fumbled the snap.
Yep.
And I think it's been downhill since.
They've had some things happen. Of course, they had the Marion Barber, Felix Jones combination team. They had the drop by Creighton. You can go on and on forever on that.
Yeah.
Phil, who are you going to take? The Ohio State, just too much in the end for Notre Dame?
I think it's what I said about somebody told me Texas, Ohio State. Oh, they're so much better than Texas. Well, Texas all year has played to the level they needed to get right there. And they very well could have won that game. Mm-hmm. I think anybody watch it was a great competitive game. I would not count Notre Dame out. I don't see a 10-point game, but it could be. If Ohio State comes out and, I have a lot of confidence. I said this earlier. I think both defenses are really good. I know these people that are calling it. I think that Notre Dame offensively with that quarterback, he's not a great thrower. He does have escapability. I think it could be a dynamite game. If you were just sitting there thinking, I would have to say probably if they played 5 times, Ohio State would win 3.
Thank you, buddy. Paul, one more?
I just want your thoughts on Riley Leonard and how he plays like he's he doesn't know that he's supposed to get tackled. Like it's that it hurts. Like he just goes, man.
Winner. He's a winner. Yeah. If you sat there and you said, who would you take, Riley Leonard or Quinn Ewers? Who would you guys take?
I'm such a huge Riley Leonard fan, and I like, Quinn's an excellent player. I know he checks all the boxes of arm strength and all that, but man, Riley Leonard, you can't shake that guy at all.
Do you think Riley Leonard would have won 9 games at Duke? Do you think Quinn Ewers would have won 9 games at Duke? I don't.
I think Quinn Ewers has one of the prettiest passing motions and touch of anyone I've ever seen at the college level. I remember he made a run early against A&M and a couple of others. In fact, he made that flip to Wisner that pretty much kept him. Really was a huge moment on a 4th down, I believe.
It was.
He makes plays, but I think, unfortunately for him, when things get a little messy, like with most quarterbacks, he's going to make a mistake. Or he's not going to – and Riley Leonard seems to find if 1 out of every 4 times that happens, you expect Leonard to make a play out of it.
Right. He just extends things. And I trust me, Quinn's a good player. I just don't. I'm not sure he's an elite player.
Boy, they've had a lot of players who are going to go to the NFL last year, this year, but they'll reload, as you mentioned. You mentioned they're one of the ones that can do that. Anything else, guys, for Coach Bennett? Phil, thank you, buddy. Great to see you.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
guys.
it.
All right, have
Thank
a good
you.
week.